Hi, I'm Paul Camillos. Join me and my co-host Jacinta Gavin for Series 4 of Shooting the Breeze. We cover women's hoops and women in hoops. We talk to inspiring players, amazing coaches, and the legends behind the scenes and at the grassroots of the game. During this series, we'll be covering the FIBA Women's World Cup, where the 12 best teams on the planet are coming to Sydney. And of course, we'll be covering Australia's longest-running women's professional sporting league, the WNBL, in its 43rd season. Hit that subscribe button, like and review so we can get more hoops content to you.
There's always going to be things that go wrong and don't quite work, but I think as long as every game we get better and we work on what we've spoken about the last couple of games or last film session or whatever it is, then I know it's going to click at some point and we're going to get those wins rolling on the board.
This week, we're joined by captain of the Sydney Flames, Keely Froling, as the team prepares to finally head back home after one of the longest on-the-road starts in the league. We talk to Keely about the gruelling start to the season as they prepare to circle back to Sydney for this weekend's doubleheader with the Sydney Kings. A fierce competitor and self-confessed white line fever player, Keely is learning to fine-tune her leadership style as captain, understanding the need to bring her younger squad together and to look ahead positively, leading by example in some great individual performances so far. We're grateful to Keely for sharing some challenging experiences in her younger years and her journey as one of the youngest to start in the WNBL. And of course, we get excited as the team make their way back to Sydney, home of the hugely successful Women's World Cup for the first time this season. Sydney fans, you really want to get around this young team. Welcome to Shooting the Breeze. Joining my co-host Jacinta Gavin and myself today, it's captain of the Sydney Flames, Keely Froling. Keely, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Hi guys, thanks for having me today.
So, Keely, you've been racking up those frequent flyer miles over the last few weeks in the first 3 rounds of the WNBL. That's probably been a pretty tough way to start the season.
Yeah, it's been super tough with that draw to start the season. And, when you're a young group, when you're a new group and you're trying to get imports used to the league, when you have a bye first round of the season and then go 3 games on the road and then a 4th one after this FIBA break is not ideal. But, we're trying to take positives out of that. And I think we're nearly home for all of January and that sort of stuff. So in the long run, we're saying it's going to be better for us.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know as Flames fans, it's been kind of, when do we get to go and watch the team play?
Yeah, it really has been. And, for our imports and stuff, we want to play at home. We want to build on the back of that World Cup success and all the people that were at the games and that sort of thing. So it's been that kind of stall, it feels like. But hopefully once we do get home games, we'll start to see it rolling a little bit.
Cool. Okay, we're going to bounce around a little bit here, but let's get the not so happy stuff out of the way first. It's been a tough start, right? Apart from the schedule, the results haven't really gone the Flames' way. Now, obviously, traveling around, especially with the schedule that you've had, makes it really tough. How do you find the challenges, particularly in your role as captain? How do you find those challenges of, the motivation and kind of, having that leadership role in the team and keeping everybody up? Because, it can get tough.
Yeah, definitely. It was a tough week for us, but I think, we took a lot out of every game, and obviously to start the season against Bendigo, they're a really great team and a veteran team as well. So they've been around this league for a really long time, and, they jumped us with that sort of stuff. And then it's always been like it's felt like one quarter that we haven't been great that's kind of cost us the game, and we're taking a lot of learnings from that. I guess the best thing about playing 3 games a week is you don't have a lot of training time, so we're just we were just rolling from one game to the next, watching a lot of film, doing that sort of stuff, and then had this little bit of a break, which has kind of come at the perfect time now to really refine some of those things that we're not doing right. And we know that we're like right there. I don't think there's a massive gap between what we're doing, what we're not doing, what we need to do to win. So, we're just taking all those positives on board and, yeah.
And it's something I was really impressed with, Keely, in your game. I think it was against Adelaide. Despite the rocky game, and like Paul said, things weren't really going the team's way. You, as a team, got a lot of great shot opportunities that unfortunately weren't dropping, but I was really impressed with how you yourself maintained a level of intensity. Like you yourself didn't let your head drop. You didn't stop attacking the basket and maintain that level of intensity throughout, despite the adversities of the game. So now stepping into that role of captaincy, is that something you're very conscious of leading by example?
Yeah, I think I naturally do that. I'm one of those players that once I step over the line, it's like white line fever. No matter what, if we're up by 40 or if we're down by 40, I'm probably still going to play the same way. So that comes really natural to me. And for me, it's just with that leadership role, we're just trying to keep the group together, keep us positive. We know our shots aren't dropping at the moment, but that'll come. And I think once that comes, we'll open it up, we'll feel a little bit freer and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's like I said, once I'm on that court, then I'm always going to play hard.
Now, for people who may not understand, what's the difference from your perspective of being the captain of the team to being a player on a team?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think there is that little bit of difference because you have that, I find there's a lot more responsibility, and as someone that has that white line fever, sometimes I can get a little bit angry, sometimes, loses my cool. I've had to really try to rein that in and take in, especially with a young group. I know, I've got to go, oh, okay, I've got to pull the group in here. That's my role. I've been really lucky that in other teams I've had really great leaders, Carly Wilson, Marianna Tolo, Kelsey Griffin, who have done that for me, and I haven't had to have that role. But with this team, I think it's a lot different where you've just got to take that step back, and sometimes it feels like the world's against you, but you can't drop your head, you can't blame, you can't do all that sort of stuff. You're the one that's really got to hold the group together.
It sounds like it definitely starts to hold you a bit more accountable when, you're supposed to be the model of staying positive and sticking to the game plan and things like that too.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think that's the biggest thing for me is just making sure, like people are looking at me and what I'm doing in this situation as well. So having that in the back of your mind.
And you touched on some of the leaders and captains that you have played with before that have obviously left an impression on you. So are you starting to develop or have a recognition of what your personal leadership style is?
Yeah, I think for me, I always lead by example. That comes naturally to me and it's easy for me. And, I'm always going to play hard. I always work the hardest, all that sort of stuff, set that example that way, and then kind of bring other people with me in that regard.
And, we've got a home game coming up at it's a double header with the Kings at Kudos on the 4th of December, and it's a rematch with Bendigo. What do you want to see the team achieve? I mean, apart from the obvious, a W, right? But, what do you want to see the team achieve as a group?
I think for us, it's just about getting better each game and not having to repeat, say we have one focus and not having to repeat that kind of focus each game. We're always improving in every way each game. There's always going to be things that go wrong and, don't quite work. But I think as long as every game we get better and we work on what we've spoken about the last couple of games or last film session or whatever it is, then, I know it's going to click at some point and we're going to get those wins rolling on the board. And I think Bendigo is a really great test to do that against because, like I said, they're a really great team and they have all that veteran leadership and all those players that have played in the league for a really long time. So we're right there.
Okay. Before we kind of move on to some other topics, I want to ask one question. We all know Shane Hill is, I think we could all call him a driven individual. After each game, how has he found the progress of the team and how you guys have been going? And how's he found the chemistry of the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think Shane's found it, like I said, that we're getting better each time. We obviously didn't have a lot of time between those games. I think we had 2 days and then another 2 days with travel in between and all that sorts of things. So for Shane, like I said, we just have focuses on certain things, whatever it is after each game, and make sure we're improving on that and we're doing that sort of thing. We know our shots are going to drop at some point during the season, hopefully soon. Yeah, and it's really about that focus moving on to the next game. We don't try and dwell on other games, but we just try to take as much as we can from them.
Okay. Recently, there was an article in the Pick and Roll where there was mention made of you being in the Opals conversation for Paris. You were part of the team at the Asia Cup that got the bronze at Jordan. How do you personally, as a player, find those sorts of opinions about yourself? Do you find them encouraging? Do you find yourself kind of going, oh yeah, I kind of not 100% thrilled that people sort of are forecasting what could or could not be?
Yeah, I think, everyone has an opinion, and I just try, sometimes I see them, sometimes I don't. I don't take a lot of it on board unless it's from somebody that I respect and, is in my circle and that sort of thing. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of people in the basketball world and a lot of people with all different opinions. So for me, my goal is Paris 2024. So if I saw that article, I'd probably be happy with that one. But yeah, like I said, I think it's great that we're having so many people comment on women's basketball and have those sorts of opinions and stuff, but you've got to take that stuff with a grain of salt and know, I think for me, the people that matter most to me are the ones that I really respect and value their opinion and their advice.
And to me, you're a very versatile player, and I have enjoyed watching your game evolve over time, especially since you're at the Caps when you're able to go from a 3 to a stretch 4 and sometimes into the 5. But where do you feel most comfortable yourself? What part of the game do you feel most comfortable playing in?
I'm really happy playing kind of any role as long as I'm on the court. Like I said, sometimes I'll be point forward, I like to call myself. I don't know if many coaches agree with that, but if I'm on the court, then I don't mind where I'm playing. I am definitely comfortable in the stretch 4 role, where I can take slower players off the dribble or bring smaller players into the block. But I think the biggest thing for me is defensively being able to guard kind of through multiple positions. And yeah, if I get the opportunity to play 3, I will. And sometimes if I have to play 5, I can as well.
So having said that, do you feel like that's the area of your game you need to improve on to get a spot in the Paris Opal squad? Is your versatility on defense?
Yeah, I think, definitely being able to guard multiple positions at the international level and probably something I need to work on. I've had conversations with Sandy, with the Opal staff and that sort of thing on all those little things that I need to work on, being a consistent shooter, all that sort of thing. But yeah, there's always things that you can work on to get into those spots. And I think too, it depends on what the team needs at that point in time and who else is available and all those sorts of things come into it as well.
So how did you find the style of play and the intensity of play between the WNBL and, Asia Cup?
It's different at Asia Cup. Obviously, the Asian teams play a bit of a different game of basketball. They're speedy and quick, and I think that really suits my style of play. So I really enjoyed the Asia Cup. And then, you came up against China that have some just absolute beasts that are huge and really hard to move in the paint. So comparing to WNBL, I think quite similar, but definitely more of that full court pressing, that really high tempo game. When you look at the Japanese players that shoot threes from here, there and everywhere on the court, and you kind of get that across the board. So there's definitely a lot of things that transfer over and then a lot of things that are different as well.
And from your point of view, how did you find that experience at Asia Cup and Jordan and winning the bronze?
Yeah, I loved it. It's been my goal to play for Opals for a really long time. So when the opportunity came up, I couldn't be more excited. And the team was awesome. Such a great group of girls who, I've kind of grown up with, and we've gone through juniors together. And it was just a really exciting experience. And to play at that level was awesome as well.
And was Paul Goris coaching that team as well, if I'm right?
Yeah, that was Gori coaching, so it was really nice. He was obviously COE coach with me and then at the Caps for 5 or 6 years, so it was really nice to have that familiarity as well.
How are you finding the culture and the whole the Sydney experience as well? Because it's a tough town. How did you find that, particularly last season? Because last season was It was a bit of a challenge. There was a high turnover with imports, but towards the end of the season, the team really started coming together. How did you find that journey across that season?
Yeah, I think, last season was obviously challenging with all that sort of turnover that we had, but also it was our first season out of COVID. So we probably were, and, the first year with the new ownership group. So we were really just kind of figuring things out. It felt like with fans and that sort of thing, we still didn't have the fan access that we would normally, which I think is going to start this year at our first home game. It's definitely different from being in a small town where I've played before, like your Caps and your Townsville and that sort of thing. But I think it's something that we can definitely build on. And when we look at World Cup, building off the back of that sort of thing. And I think, the ownership group and Hoops Capital coming on board has made such a difference. And even this year, going from last year to this year with where we're training, our facilities, the support staff, all the people that we have on board has just gone through the roof. So we're definitely, I'd say, in that building stage still, but it's like all pointing to really positive signs.
And has your experience been quite different? Because you mentioned you referred to Canberra as a small town, and especially compared to Sydney, it definitely has that more of a big community town feel. Canberra, not disrespecting Canberra, they know that I love them as well, but comparing, say, a very, I would say, accessible administration, the UC Caps, where you could have, like you said, small town feel, big fan base. You could have the top tier of the UC Caps on the phone, as easily as your best friend. And were there any similarities and differences between going from a model like that to something as a little bit more, what seems on the outside probably more established and a bigger presence like Hoops Capital?
Yeah, I think there's always little differences, but most teams between the leagues, you have access to all the people and, whoever it is that you need to talk to, you could normally get a conversation with, and maybe it's because I'm pretty chatty and I'll have a chat with anyone and anyone. So, I think the biggest thing, differences with us is just how they've just pumped up our facilities. They really want what's best for us. They've put tons of money into our media and marketing and that sort of thing. So that's where I'm noticing the biggest difference at the moment.
Yeah, so it sounds like in your experience, regardless of size and stuff, you still, from top down of, the size of an organisation, it sounds like you still feel pretty well supported.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, that's the benefit of the WNBL. It is only, basketball world, WNBL world's actually quite small. So, you kind of know who's who in most places.
And this season, it's a new home court as well, the Key Centre. Have you been down to the Key Centre and sort of checked out the place this season to get a feel and an understanding of the place you're going to be playing?
Yeah, so we haven't gone down as a team yet. We've been on the road. But
yeah.
I did play those Opals games with Japan there, and it was an awesome venue, and I think it'll suit us really well. It's that little bit smaller in size, but it's a fun venue to play at. So we're really excited to get there, and I'm sure, they'll deck it out really great in all Flames colours and all that sort of thing. So we're really excited.
Because will you get to train there as well a little bit in preparation for your first home game?
Yeah, I would assume for game week we'll start to train there. We actually play in Melbourne before we have our first home game, so we'll be in Melbourne for a couple of days before. So maybe we'll shoot around there. I don't know. I haven't seen what that looks like. But, yeah, hopefully once we kind of are based in Sydney for a little bit of time without having to jet off here, there and everywhere, we'll be able to get some trainings in at the actual centre.
You might have to do an old school basketball camp there and just, like set up an air mattress, sleep courtside, have your managers feed you lasagna every night, just get immersed into the venue.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, every court has its own little unique things, and when you play in a place long enough, you get to know there's all the different things that are happening with the floor and the bounce of the court and whatever. And that's going to be something a little bit new to you guys.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be new to us and new to all the other teams. So hopefully we can adapt pretty quick. And, from memory from those games, when we played there with the Opals, it was a pretty good court, good rims. And I think that's the biggest thing. As long as the rings are okay, then we're good to go.
No glad wrap on the rings before
Yeah.
you start, please.
Yeah. Going back a bit, you decided to leave college early.
Mm.
Okay. There are people who'll go, it's the great college experience. What was it about the college experience where you thought, you know what, it's okay, I've got no issue with leaving early?
Yeah, so I actually hated college. It was quite easy for me to leave. But I guess a little bit of background on that is I did my right knee when I was at AIS my second year going into college. So I went in there and I'd rehabbed at AIS and everything and was okay to go, but, never quite felt right. And then 3 months into my freshman year, I did my other knee, got hit, taken out, did my knee. And comparing the US rehab to Australian AIS rehab, it was like night and day. And it just didn't work for me or my knees. And there was a lot of pressure on me to rush back to playing because they wanted me on the court. And it just was a really hard time, especially being, I think I was 19 at the time, to be like, whoa, like my knee's not ready to go. Like it's 6 months post ACL reco. I've just had one last year. And ended up actually having another surgery over there, just like a clean out. So I was like, this isn't for me. And then on top of that, I wanted to study physio in Australia. And I was like, well, why am I going to do 4 years over here studying something when nothing transfers back to physio in Australia? So I was like, I'm out. I tried it, I hated it, and I'm done.
No, I think that's a really I appreciate the sound and honest reflection of college because, like Paul said, college is sometimes glamorized in a sense of the college dream, the college experience. And for me, my friends went. I probably could have gone if I wanted to explore the opportunities, but it just sounded really restrictive. So I appreciate the honest experience saying it wasn't for you and you didn't like it. And it's really interesting that you mentioned that your rehab experience was so different. So what was it, do you feel like? I mean, it sounded like you said that they were rushing to get you back on court, but what else was around the rehab? Like, what was their perspective on rehab in that situation compared to what you experienced at the AIS?
I think the biggest thing, obviously, was the time frames, them just being, we need you back now, we need you back here. But then the biggest thing was not taking into consideration how my knee was actually going. And with AIS and with physio in Australia, it's not about time frames, it's about goals, how many hops you can do, squats, strength, all that sort of thing that are outcome based. Whereas in the US, it was like, oh, you're 6 months now, you should be back scrimmaging. And I'm like, yeah, but I haven't done any change of direction movements yet. Like, this doesn't make sense. And I think that I was lucky that I'd done my knee in Australia before, so I knew that process. And I had a really great contact back here, physio-wise, and I was just like, whoa, this doesn't make sense. Like, my knee's not right. And I've also just had 3 knee surgeries in 2 years, and I'm not even 20 yet. I'm like, this is not where I want to be. And I think for them too, they have a focus of they've got you for 4 years. It doesn't really matter what you do, or at least, obviously, I think every college is different as well. I'm sure people go to college and have, like you said, great experiences. But the college I was at, they were like, we've got you for 4 years. There's no long-term thinking about what's this going to do to your knee in the long term. Will you be able to play, have a long career, all that sort of thing. So for me, it was that. And as soon as I came back to Australia, got in to see a good physio, kind of started that rehab process. Within, it was 6 months to a year, I was back feeling really confident in my knee and feeling like I'm ready to go and, playing in basketball at a high level again.
Mm.
That's a really interesting look into the college basketball world, because I mean, we've spoken to lots of players who've been to college, and I think this is the first time we've actually had a look like that into it, where it's like, yeah, okay, it's been this much time, you should be back on the floor. And it's a bit surprising that the colleges, well, on one hand, it's surprising that the colleges do take that approach, right? Because, you've got young players coming through. But on the other hand, I can kind of see it because there's that dollar imperative to get, the big crowds in and make sure that everybody who's got a slot at the college on the team is producing for the team. Otherwise, they start questioning you. Did you find that when you were sort of like were, pushing back a little bit, you were getting pressure from the college?
Yeah, massively. From the head coach more than anything. There was times where I'd say to the trainer, like my first game, I think I was supposed to play, 8 minutes or something, whatever you're supposed to play, and I played 20. And the next day my knee was really swollen and we had another game. And the trainer said, oh, you have to tell the coach that you can't play because it's your choice. And I'm like, well, what? Like, which obviously I did because I had that backing, from my family and from the physios back here, and I knew that it wasn't right. But there's people that would just, oh, okay, like I have to play. Like, and then, then you have that conversation with the coach, which at 19 is quite hard. And, I think like she called me selfish. She's saying all these things where I'm like, whoa, like I'm just trying to make sure my knee's okay. So yeah, it was the rough time, and after that I was like, oh, I'm out of here. Like, I finished the
Wow.
season and then I was like, see ya. I booked a flight home tomorrow.
Wow. And for our listeners, our jaws did silently drop when Keely said, like when Keely referred to a coach calling her selfish. That is outrageous. Oh, it just reminds me of that movie Varsity Blues. Like have you seen it?
I think I might have, yeah.
The old one, but
Yeah.
similar. Like a starting quarterback, knee problem. Coach was like giving him cortisone injections to keep playing, and then he stuffs up his knee and he can't play at all. It just seems like the coach had no. I mean, it's ironic that she called you selfish because she had no sense of your overall well-being and longevity as a human and a player. So, yeah, wow, that's really disappointing to hear that was your experience. But good on you for standing up for yourself and sticking to what you truly believed was going to be the best for you. Because I imagine as well, what was it like? Because you went to college with your twin sister Alicia.
Mm-hmm.
Unique experience to be able to go to the same college at the same time with your sister. But then what was it like in that situation where you met with the decision where you're like, the best thing for me is to leave? Because didn't Alicia stay?
Yeah, Alicia stayed, and she knew, that I was obviously struggling with my knees and with how they were treating me and like my rehab. So she was quite like, yeah, this is silly. Why would you be here? And she was doing really well. And then, by the end of it, they also messed up some of her injuries and that sort of thing. So it's one of those things where, maybe hindsight, but she did have a really great college career and did, I think, overall really enjoyed it there until probably the end where it got a little bit sour. So, that's two people at the same school with quite different experiences. But, yeah, it was, like I said, I was so ready to go. After I knew when our last game was, I'd already booked a flight. I was like, I'm out. Like, see ya later.
Wow. Yeah. And did they know that you didn't have intention of coming back?
No, they didn't know. And after the last game, I'd said, like, thanks, but I'm out. And then they were trying to convince me to stay, and the athletic director wanted to meet with me and someone else, but I'd actually signed a contract to play Seabull in Bendigo. So I just was like, I've already signed a professional contract. I'm ineligible. See ya.
Oh, good one. Yeah. Here's the final mic drop, and I'm not picking it back up.
Yeah, that's just, I'm actually really shocked, hearing all of that. But it reinforces the fact that some people have said, the college experience isn't necessarily the ideal pathway for people. It wasn't ideal for you. It is ideal for others. So do you think that people who are considering the college pathway should actually sit down and have a really hard think about whether it's going to work for their own personality rather than sort of saying, well, it's college, it's kind of like that's the next box that's got to be ticked?
Yeah, I think everyone has to take in their own personal account to what they want to do next and what their goals are and that sort of thing. And I think it's probably easier now to go into college with a little bit more. I think there's more people going over there. There's more information probably available. I mean, you still never know what you're walking into until you're there. But, back in 2013 or whenever it was, we really didn't know a whole lot at all. And you kind of get pieces of information from people and that sort of thing. So I think it is just about making sure you do your research, and then the biggest thing for me is the medical side of it. Like, if there is any sort of medical thing going on, that was where it really caught me up. But like I said, every college is different, and hopefully now they've kind of started to change that. I don't know. But yeah, everyone's different and not everyone loves it. I think Harry and Sam, both my brothers, went for a year as well, and then they were out, and theirs was more to do with academics and playing and the game style. So, they had completely different experiences from me as well, but they ended up thinking, coming back and playing in Australia is better for them.
Have you ever thought about Europe?
Yeah, I have thought about Europe. It's something that's always been on the radar, and I was studying when I was in Canberra for a long time, so that kind of held me in Australia, and I really wanted to get my degree done, so that was done and out the way, and now, I'm definitely open to it and would consider it, but I love playing in Australia as well. Like, I love going NBL 1, WNBL, that kind of lifestyle. So it's something that I definitely haven't written off, and I would definitely consider, but, at the same time, it is nice knowing what you're getting in the WNBL and in NBL 1 and, being close to family and friends and all that.
And a bit, like you said, like probably a bit more stability, you know what you're getting into. And it sounds like you've got a good relationship as well with the Launceston team for the NBL 1, considering, have you played 3 seasons with them now?
Yeah, well, 2 seasons I've played, and then that one was COVID, that year that the season just got canned. So I signed, but I never played.
So how do you find Tasmania and Launceston and playing for the Tawns?
I love it. Like, I really love it down there. The Tawns are a really great organisation, and they look after me really well. And I think just basketball in Tasmania is awesome. We see it with the Jack Jumpers, but, I also play in what we call the NWBU, which is like state league on a Tuesday night, kind of leading into the season. And we get like 500 people, 1,000 people to games for like state league.
For the state league?
Yeah, and they love it.
No way.
So it's really cool to have that sort of support. And the Tawns, obviously, are a standalone women's team. I think our brother team is the Thunder on the coast, so we travel with them. But, everyone comes and watches the Launceston Tornadoes play, and we get an awesome crowd, and the board's great, and I have a job down there as well. So it all works really well and just fits into a great off-season for me.
Okay.
So, but if you're scoring, say, 50 points, 25 rebounds in an NBL 1 game, and you're playing Tuesday night state league, are you scoring like 100 points a game? What's going on?
I try, I make it fun in the state league, and I think the biggest thing for me in that state league is being around young, like I play for Burnie Tigers, so being around those young kids and trying to, show them how basketball works and trying to be a leader for them and a role model for them. So, we have a pretty good relationship. Once we're up by a certain amount, I sub myself out and cheer from the sidelines. But it's fun. It's really fun to play there, and it's just a great community and basketball community for sure in Tassie.
That's important to keep it fun.
Yeah.
That you can still experience basketball where it's fun, because I feel like I was talking to someone today actually where it was really important for me going from having basketball so much a part of your life and so serious and learning to find the fun in it again. So that's really cool that you're able to have that duality of playing for fun on a Tuesday, being a role model for other female athletes, and then turning it on a weekend for the Tawns, but it's still being a role model as well.
Yeah, definitely. And, I always try and have fun and enjoy what I'm doing. And if I'm not enjoying it, then I don't do it. Like, it's really simple. So I love playing with that and just being around the girls and seeing all these rural parts of Tassie and just how much people get around you and support you and appreciate you too, which is really nice.
And you mentioned you've got a job down there. What do you do down there?
Yeah, so I'm a physio. I have a job at Imbalance in Launceston, and it's been really great because it's pretty hard to be a new grad and say, can you give me a job but only for 6 months of the year, and also I might have to go overseas at certain times. Don't sound like the world's best employee, but they've been great with that, taking me on when I'm down in Tassie and working around my schedule, and I can't speak highly enough of them and how much they've helped me, and I love it, that physio side of work and doing something different outside of basketball. So it's cool, and coming back in the winter and knowing that you have that job there is pretty special.
And just for the free plug, whereabouts are they and what's their name again?
Yeah, in Launceston, Imbalance Physio.
And that's really cool. I mean, you just spoke about your negative experience of rehabbing your knee in college. So you have that perfect lived experience of what not to do as a physio, when you're not person-centered and when you're not using outcome measures and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've had experience of the really bad stuff, but then I've been really lucky to have some really great physios around me as well. So, you take little bits from everyone that you're around and things that you shouldn't definitely do, and then stuff that you should do as well.
Okay, so tell us about Townsville. You spent 3 years at Townsville as a DP. How did you find that? How was that experience for you, with the WNBL team?
It was really cool. It feels like a lifetime ago now. Like, I, haven't lived in Townsville for 10 years, I think, nearly now. So it feels like a whole world ago. But to have that as your first professional experience, I think is pretty special. And it's something that obviously is a benefit of growing up in a small place like Townsville and being exposed to that at such a young age. I think, like, my first training with the Fire, I was 14 years old. Like, it just is unheard of. And we were just doing a preseason kind of filling in and that sort of thing when Peter Buckle was still the coach. And it was pretty cool to have that experience. And then to come on as a DP under Chris Lucas and be around some really great players with, your Susie Bakoviches and Jess Foley and all those people. So, like, at the time, I was just like, oh, yeah, this is cool. Like, you're obviously nervous and you're like, oh, but looking back on it now, like, that's a really cool experience and I definitely learned a lot from it.
Yeah, just a casual training feeling when you're 14. Oh, my word. Like, I'd still be sitting in the bleachers at 14, I think. That's amazing. That's a very unique experience. And I'm glad thanks for putting your ages to the context, because when you mentioned before you played for the Caps 5-6 years, I didn't actually realise you were part of that club for that long, because then I was thinking, wait, hold on, how old were you when you were involved at Townsville? So, yeah, that really puts things into a good context.
Yeah, I think I'm the league's youngest veteran. That's what I like to say.
Yeah, because you would have racked up so many years playing and have you reached your milestones of games played in the WNBL yet?
Yeah, I don't know. I actually haven't. I've definitely played my 100th game. I don't know about 150. I can't remember. I played my 100th game in the hub though, so surely I'd be close to.
Yeah, you'd be pretty close.
Yeah, but I don't know. Don't even know where you get that information.
Oh, I'll be googling.
Oh, yeah,
Someone out there will know.
I think one of the things that interests me, what you were talking about Townsville, is that the Townsville team, it seems to me, is a bit like Tasmania, where you get a massive amount of support from the community. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, definitely. It's that small community feel, and I think, there's the Fire and the Cowboys. They're your two big teams, so you get a lot of supporters from everywhere, and it's a great place to play, and especially I think as your first pro kind of, not gig, but just where you're in that environment is cool, and like, I loved it.
Yeah, I've heard other players who've played in Townsville say similar, that they really loved playing in Townsville because of that atmosphere. And I've even had some random Townsville fans contact me on social media saying how upset they were when players have left. Like when Mia Murray went to sign for Boomers, someone randomly messaged me and was like, my best friend heard about it and she was crying. She can't believe Mia is leaving. And I was like, whoa, these fans are really into it. Like it's so much respect for that level of fandom where someone is becoming like physically upset that their favorite player is leaving.
Yeah, they're definitely super passionate up there, which is really cool, and I think we need more of that in women's basketball. Maybe not
Yes,
people
good
crying,
point.
but people being passionate.
So do they do fan art up there?
I don't know, actually. I don't know if they do the fan art up there. Not that I've seen. I think, yeah, maybe it's a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Fire fans need to come up with some of their own fan art. We could try and see if we can get a national WNBL fan art competition going.
Yeah, we'll vote on who's the best.
Yeah. Okay, one of the key questions is, what do you do when you're away from basketball?
For me, depends where I am. In Tassie, obviously I'm working. My boyfriend's there, so we hang out. But I love just like spending time with family, with friends, and hiking. Like I love kind of going out and seeing in Tassie. There's some beautiful places to hike, and here I've been up to the Blue Mountains and explored and that sort of thing. So hiking, the beach, chilling out, and then going out for brunch, I'd say, are my things that I do.
Okay. Favourite beach?
Definitely the Whitsundays. My grandma's lucky enough to have a spot up there, so that is my favourite beach. Not that I get there a whole lot, but yeah, it's the best.
And in Sydney?
In Sydney, probably Bronte at the moment. We kind of just go wherever, Yeah, I think Bronte.
Okay. And favourite brunch spot?
Ooh, favourite brunch spot. I mean, I've yet to find a favourite in Sydney. I think there's too many, so I never want to go to the same one because I'm like, there's so many to try.
And there's way too many to keep up with because you go to one and then 6 months later you go back to it and it's a whole other new place.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you can't keep up with it. And why brunch and not breakfast or lunch? Like why brunch specifically?
Well, I think because when you have an off day, you don't want to get up early, so you're sleeping in. And then that's like your breakfast, but it's late, so it's brunch, right? And then you go out to the beach, go do whatever.
Yeah, perfect. So you got to accommodate for the sleep in. No, I totally agree with that. And then you can just have breakfast at your leisure rather than sticking to a time of like, I've got to get up and eat a certain time and then go to training or go to weights or whatever. It's just way more leisurely.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, one of the talking points is if you weren't a basketball player, what would you be?
Well, I guess I'd have to say physio because that's what I do in my spare time. But I don't know. If I didn't play basketball my whole life, I feel like I'd play some other sport for sure. I don't know what one. I dabbled in athletics for a little while there. I feel like I would be okay at AFL. I don't know if I can kick the ball, but I feel like I could tackle someone.
Oh, yeah. No, I can definitely see you playing Aussie rules. Yeah. Did you ever play netball at all?
I did for one, like, school game, and they made me be GK, and I was like, nah, I'm not. I want to shoot. So, I'm not doing this if I don't get to shoot the ball. So that was it for me. And I think I was a little bit too aggressive. So
because I feel like you've got a few kind of netball sensibilities about your game, like your very quick, light footwork, especially when on defense as well. What made me think that perhaps you had played netball.
Yeah, I definitely. I tried, and then like I either couldn't shoot or I just kept getting contacts because I was too close to everyone. So it didn't work well for me. I was standing next to my man the whole time. It felt like.
I feel like when they know that you're a basketballer and you're switching to netball even that one time, the umpires will just want to blow you up for everything, whether it's right or not, just as a bit of spite.
That's how I felt. I felt targeted.
Yeah. No, I can definitely see you do Aussie rules though. Like, yeah, for sure. Especially with your white line fever and competitiveness, I can see you taking down some people.
Yeah.
One of the things we do, and you may have heard this before or not, we ask a totally unscripted question.
Okay.
Nothing bad.
No, it's not. It's nothing bad. So you're not supposed to laugh like that. Now it gets people worried. Okay, so I'm going to go with one that we did recently, which is if you could be any movie character at all, who would you be?
Ooh, a movie character. I feel like I'd be a superhero, like Wonder Woman or something cool. Someone with powers, you know?
Okay, so which one?
Maybe Wonder Woman, I reckon.
Wonder Woman.
It's pretty cool, yeah. Okay,
and why is that?
I just think it's cool to have those powers and, like, all that sort of thing. Like, that's a lame answer, but that's how I feel.
No, that's cool.
What superheroes do you think your siblings would be?
I feel like Alicia could be like the Hulk because she gets.
I thought you were going to say Harry would be the Hulk.
No, I feel like Alicia just has that snap, and then you're like, what, right? Like she's going to hate me. I'm definitely going to get into trouble. Sorry, Harry. What would Harry be? I don't know. Sam's is a different one too. He's like a bit more chilled, like. But then, yeah, what superheroes would they be? I don't know. I probably don't know the superheroes enough to be.
I think I'm just typecasting Harry because he's like tall and broad, so that's why I thought the Hulk, or maybe like the Thing from Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't hear this and gets upset. Apologies, Harry.
Dad would definitely claim that he's Superman. But
yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, one of the interesting things is the whole family is heavily involved in sports. What was that like, growing up?
I guess for us, it was just normal. Like, we were always around. This is back when the Crocs were in the NBL and Dad was the assistant, or when he was playing for the Suns. We were just always at training, running around, running amok in the gym. And I remember getting in trouble for, breaking things and all that sort of thing there, and going to the games and kind of we'd always go backstage and be back with interacting with the guys and everyone and all that sort of thing. So for us, that was just our childhood. Like, that's what we knew. And obviously, we had goals, and I guess with Dad and Mum being both so heavily involved, but also knowing what it took. So they were always really honest with the expectation and what it's going to take to, make it to whatever our goals were and that sort of thing. Without, putting too much pressure on us. And, they never said you have to do that. But if that's what you want, then this is what you have to do. So it just feels like it was a normal childhood for us, but obviously it wasn't. But, yeah, it was obviously really cool and fun, and you learn a lot from that.
And your dad's making his return to coaching, just being announced the head coach of the Townsville NBL 1 men's team.
Yeah, that's super cool. Dad's a great coach, and he gets a lot out of his players, and he's really respected. He's coached juniors up there for a really long time, I think, 16, 18 boys. So they're really excited, and they'll be running a lot, but I think, he'll really enjoy it as well. So it'll be good for everyone.
So heads up, if anyone is planning to try out for that team, you'll just be prepared for a bit of running.
Yeah.
So one thing I'm really curious about is, with the current Flames team, when you guys are around, which of the players has the best sense of humour?
This is a good one.
Humor-wise, I think Tiana is the funniest person on the team. But it's just because she just has no filter with what she says, what she does. She's just happy to lay it all out there, and it's like really honest and refreshing, but it's funny too. And she definitely keeps the mood in the change room light, and sometimes you're just shaking your head, but you're always laughing with her as well.
And when you're practicing, when you're scrimmaging particularly, is there a specific player that you kind of like know that they're going to be like putting 110% in, even though it is a friendly scrimmage?
Yeah, I feel like that my team would say that's me. So I'm definitely that person that doesn't matter if it's training, whatever. Once I'm over that line, I'm ready to go. And if there's a foul or something, I'll definitely get fired up about it, or as well. So I feel like the team would answer that as me. But I think we do a good job as a group of being really competitive at training as well. So there's people all across the board that will bring it.
Have you done very much off-court team bonding that still promotes a sense of competitiveness, if it's paintball against each other or go-karting or anything like that?
Yeah, we didn't do a whole heap of that this pre-season. I think for us it's about, doing that stuff on the court, and then off the court we have fun. We're going out for dinner or hanging out, going to the beach a lot, doing that sort of thing where you're winding down more than, for us pre-season was pretty intense, and we didn't want to do any more running or anything off the court. We were chilling.
So, we've got a game coming up soon at Kudos. We're hoping to have that. We'll see a really good turnout of the crowd, particularly after, with the World Cup. How did you find the whole World Cup experience, and what do you think it's helped to do with the WNBL?
Yeah, I thought the World Cup was incredible. I think it was a great experience, and the turnout was way more than I ever would have expected. And it was great to have that level of basketball in Australia and being enjoyed by so many fans. So hopefully we kind of get that follow-on of the people that enjoyed the World Cup, maybe came to watch their countries or see that level, and hopefully we can get them to some Flames games for sure.
Okay, Keely, it's been great having you on, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Flames playing at home. Can't wait. And it's been so much fun talking to you. Can't wait to see how the season rolls out.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm also very excited for a home game. Not long now.
Keely, thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on the court soon.
Thanks, guys.
Shooting the Breeze can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Don't forget to subscribe and share the podcast with all your friends.